You could feel the tension crackle through the airwaves when Jason Kelce leaned into the mic and said, "I want Shedeur out of there so bad." He didn't yell it. He didn't rant. But the weight behind those words, that was pure frustration. And it echoed exactly what a growing number of fans, players, and analysts have been thinking. What the hell are the Browns doing? Let's set the scene. Week 1 is days away. The Cleveland Browns have made their quarterback decision official.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
And it's Joe Flacco under center. Yes, that Joe Flacco. The 40-year-old placeholder who's played for more teams than Shedeur Sanders has birthdays. No disrespect to Flacco's past. It's just that his present is, well, kind of dusty. And Kelce, like so many others, is watching one of the most naturally gifted young QBs in recent memory rot on the sideline while the Browns bet their future, yet again, on a short-term Band-Aid solution that doesn't move the needle. Kelce didn't need a whole speech. That one sentence said it all. Because when a player like Jason Kelce, a guy known for his leadership, intelligence, and no BS attitude, calls it out, it means it's real. Not just noise. Not just sports talk fodder. Truth. And the truth is this. Cleveland has no idea what to do with Shedeur Sanders. This isn't just about naming a starter. This is about organizational cowardice. About a franchise so paralyzed by fear of making the wrong move that they're guaranteeing themselves mediocrity by making no bold moves at all. Let's be real. Joe Flacco isn't the future. He's not even the bridge to the future. He's the gatekeeper to the past. A relic from an era of NFL football that's long gone. And naming him the starter over Shedeur? It's like putting duct tape on a sinking ship and hoping the fans won't notice the water rising. But guess what? We notice. Jason Kelce notices. The entire league is watching. And behind closed doors, you better believe other players are whispering the same thing. Get that kid out of there. Why? Because Shedeur's not just talented. He's ready. He showed it in camp. He showed it in preseason. Calm under pressure. Quick reads. Deep ball accuracy. Command of the offense. A presence in the huddle that you can't fake and coaches can't teach. You either have it or you don't. Shedeur has it. But apparently, that's not enough for the Browns. They need experience. They need stability. As if Shedeur hasn't already shown more poise at age 22 than half the journeymen the team has trotted out since 1999. Meanwhile, fans are starting to boil. They've watched this same story play out year after year. They've watched the Browns draft talent and waste it. Sign veterans and stall out. Build hope and then torch it by October. And now they're watching the next possible franchise cornerstone get buried beneath layers of outdated football logic. And it's not just Cleveland. Across the league, young stars are hitting brick walls in the form of bad management and worse contracts. Look at the Bengals with Trey Hendrickson, one of the league's top sack artists, underpaid and underappreciated, now threatening to sit out unless he gets the guarantees he deserves. Why? Because Cincinnati, like Cleveland, treats loyalty like leverage. They'll praise you on Sunday, but come Monday it's business. And that business usually means underpaying core talent and crossing their fingers it doesn't blow up the locker room. Same goes for Washington, where Terry McLaurin is caught in a contract tug-of-war. All he's done is deliver elite production on a team that cycled through quarterbacks like Halloween costumes. But when it's time to pay up, suddenly the Commanders want to go conservative. It's the same pattern. Players step up, franchises stall. And that's what Jason Kelce was really reacting to. Not just the Browns, not just Flacco, but the bigger issue, the league's ongoing fear of empowering the next generation before they're beaten down by it. Flacco isn't a villain. He's doing what any vet would do, taking the reps, cashing the checks, trying to stay relevant. But he's not the reason people are upset. The problem is what his presence represents. A safe choice that's slowly suffocating potential. And Shedeur Sanders? He doesn't need to be saved. He doesn't need anyone to feel sorry for him. What he needs is what any great quarterback needs. Opportunity. Not token reps, Not clipboard duty. Real snaps. Real leadership. Real trust. Because development doesn't happen in the shadows. It happens under the lights. It happens in the fourth quarter when the game's on the line and the pressure is suffocating. And Shedeur wants that pressure. He thrives in it. He was built for it. And let's not act like the Browns don't know what they have. They know. They've seen it in practice. The receivers have seen it. The offensive line has seen it. The defense has seen it. Every single person in that building knows Shedeur isn't a long-term project. He's a ticking clock. And the longer they stall, the louder that clock gets. Until it explodes. And when it does, it's not just going to be one guy asking for a trade. It's going to be another wasted talent walking out the door while Cleveland clings to what could have been. Jason Kelce's words were blunt, but they were right. I want Shedeur out of there so bad. Because at this point, staying might be more dangerous than leaving. So now we watch. We wait. We count down the days until Flacco throws 3 picks and a loss, and the fans start chanting for change. We count the seconds until the locker room shifts. Until the media starts asking the question that should have been asked in August. Why isn't Shedeur Sanders your starting quarterback? And when that moment comes, the Browns won't just be late. They'll be too late. Let us know in the comments. Is Jason Kelce right? Should Shedeur get out of Cleveland while he still can? Or will the Browns finally wake up before it's too late? Hit that subscribe button, because this drama, it's just getting warmed up. I want Shedeur out of there so bad. Not, I hope he gets a chance. Not, let's see how things play out. He set out. As in, pack your bags, change your zip code, and don't look back. And that one sentence? It hit like a linebacker in the open field. Because it's not coming from some casual fan on Reddit. This is Jason freaking Kelce, Super Bowl champion, locker room general, and one of the most respected minds in football. If he's saying it, you better believe it's the sentiment echoing through practice fields, weight rooms, and locker rooms across the NFL. And what's wild is, he's not even wrong. Let's be brutally honest. Cleveland doesn't deserve Shedeur Sanders. Not right now. Not with the way they're handling him. Not with this quarterback plan. That feels less like a strategy and more like a group project led by the guy who never studied. Flacco is a known quantity. You know exactly what you're getting and what you're not. He's safe, sure. Stable, maybe. But inspiring? Future-proof? Championship caliber in 2025? Please. Starting Joe Flacco in Week 1 is like showing up to a tech conference with a flip phone and pretending you're innovating. It might make sense on paper if you squint hard enough. But in real life, it's laughable. And meanwhile, you've got a quarterback who isn't just the future. He's ready right now. But Shedeur's been shoved to the back like a VIP ticket holder waiting in the general admission line. Why? Because he didn't cost a first-round pick? Because he doesn't have 5 years of losing seasons under his belt? It's wild how fast people forget that production matters more than perception. Let's rewind. Shedeur came into the league with a microscope already over his shoulder. Not because he failed to deliver, but because his last name made some people uncomfortable. Sanders. That's not just a name, it's a brand. A legacy. A spotlight that burns hotter than most rookies can handle. But Shedeur? He didn't flinch. He embraced it. He showed up in Cleveland, head down, gloves on, ready to work. He knew what the media was saying. He knew what the critics whispered. Overhyped. Cocky. Living off his dad's name. So what did he do? He hit the field and let his arm talk. And boy, did it speak volumes. Accurate. Composed. Unshaken by pressure. Consistently outclassing the other QBs in the room. Not by miles, but by the small stuff. Footwork, timing, decision-making, leadership. That's how real quarterbacks reveal themselves. Not always through fireworks, but through consistency. And yet, he's QB3. Not QB2. Not part of a rotation. Not even splitting first-team reps in camp. QB3. Behind Flacco and Dylan Gabriel. No shade to Gabriel, but this ain't Norman anymore. Meanwhile, Shedeur's watching guys with less command, less experience, and less get the nod. Watching the franchise that said we believe in you turn around and say, but just not yet. And you can only sit back and be patient for so long. Hence Jason Kelce's outburst. Because he's seeing what we're all seeing. Shedeur is wasting time in Cleveland. And if he stays there, quiet, loyal, humble, it might cost him his career arc. Because the NFL doesn't wait. You either get your moment or you get forgotten. Kelce gets it. He's seen too many players lose years of their prime stuck behind the politics of bad rosters and worse decisions. He knows that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the league isn't the competition. It's the team you play for. And right now, Cleveland is treating Shedeur like a long-term project when he's clearly a now-term solution. But it's not just about Flacco. This is about trust. About whether an organization can recognize value without being told what it is. About whether they can empower a leader before they've hit some arbitrary benchmark of readiness. You want to know who else wasn't ready? Russell Wilson, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, all discounted, all doubted, all told to wait. Now look at them. The league's elite isn't always forged in round one. Sometimes it's built in back rooms, waiting for someone to notice. And in this case, that someone ain't Cleveland. Which brings us to the real question. Where should Shedeur go? Because if he's not going to get his shot in Cleveland, someone else is going to capitalize, and soon. You don't need a scouting department to know that quarterback-hungry teams are watching this unfold with popcorn in hand. They're lurking, waiting for the trade rumor to drop, waiting for the Browns to blink. You think Washington wouldn't scoop him in a heartbeat? You think the Raiders, the Falcons, the Patriots wouldn't move mountains for a young, game-ready QB who doesn't blink under pressure? Because Shedeur's not just a quarterback. He's a reset button. And wherever he lands next, you better believe they'll roll out the red carpet. Because if there's one thing NFL GMs understand, it's this. Missed opportunity haunts you. You don't want to be the team that let that guy walk away. The Browns? That might already be their legacy. And here's the poetic twist. The very thing they're afraid of, Shedeur being too big, too bold, too early, might just be the only thing that saves another franchise. That leadership, that composure, that ability to face media storms, manage the pressure, and still perform, that's not a liability. That's elite. That's what every team says they want, until they have it in front of them, and it doesn't come in a package they expected. So what happens now? Do the Browns ride with Flacco until the fans revolt? Do they wait until Shedeur asks out publicly? Or, miracle of miracles, do they wake up and realize they're sitting on gold and about to trade it for tin? Because here's the deal. This moment is pivotal. This isn't just about a roster. It's about trajectory. For Shedeur, for the Browns, for the team bold enough to make the call and say, hey, we'll take him. We see what he can be. And for the fans? It's a front row seat to a slow-burning drama that's about to erupt. The only question left is, who gets the redemption arc? And who gets remembered as the team that let it all slip away? This is the Cleveland Browns doing what the Cleveland Browns do best, making the wrong decision at the worst possible time. And somehow, they've managed to drag Shedeur Sanders into the cycle. And now the whole league is watching. So let's get into it. When Jason Kelce said, I want Shedeur out of there so bad, it wasn't just a passing comment. It was a moment of raw, unfiltered truth from a guy who's been around the NFL long enough to recognize a doomed situation when he sees one. And he's right to be fuming. Because this is what happens when talent meets dysfunction. When vision gets squashed under the weight of outdated systems and scared coaching. When a young star steps into the building and instead of being celebrated, he's sidelined. Let's be honest here. Joe Flacco is not the problem. He's a veteran, a stopgap, a placeholder. He's doing what he's been asked to do, keep the seat warm. He didn't ask for this controversy. He didn't create this storm. But the Browns did. Because by naming Flacco the starter in Week 1, without ever giving Shedeur meaningful first-team reps, they sent a message. And it wasn't we believe in Shedeur's development. It was, we're not ready to take that risk. But that risk is exactly what separates contenders from Cleveland. Because while the rest of the league is moving toward mobility, confidence, and dynamic quarterback play, the Browns are still stuck in 2009, running with veteran placeholders and praying for miracles. And that's where Jason Kelce's frustration starts to make sense. Because he knows what Shedeur can be. He knows what a locker room feels like when a young quarterback starts to believe in himself. And more importantly, when his teammates start to believe in him. That's how championship energy starts. It's not about status. It's not about contracts. It's about vibe. Shedeur had the vibe. In camp, in preseason, even in interviews, he carried himself like a guy who's been in the league for years. Not cocky, just calm. Not reckless, just fearless. There's a difference. And everyone noticed. Except the people who mattered most. The coaching staff? Radio silence. The front office? Focused on protecting stability. Ownership? Well, let's just say they've got a long track record of bad timing and worse decisions. And what's worse? The excuse-making. You hear things like he needs more time, or we don't want to throw him into the fire too soon. Let's break that down. The best quarterbacks in the league, most of them were thrown into the fire immediately. And guess what? That's how they got better. That's how they learned. Trial by pressure. Let's take a little tour, shall we? C.J. Stroud was tossed into a chaotic Texans rebuild. And look at him now. Justin Herbert only started because of a freak medical accident. And he never gave the job back. Jalen Hurts was doubted every step of the way. And now he's the centerpiece of a Super Bowl caliber team. You want to know what all those guys had in common? They weren't ready until they were. And they became stars because their teams let them rise. The Browns? They're letting Shedeur rot. And that's not just sad. It's infuriating. Especially when you consider the context. This isn't some fifth-year project. This is a guy who broke college records, led locker rooms, carried expectations the size of a stadium, and still performed. He was drafted late, not because of talent, but because of politics. Because of branding concerns. Because some execs didn't want to deal with the last name Sanders on a jersey. And now, even with a clean slate and a chip on his shoulder, he's being treated like a footnote instead of a franchise quarterback. Which brings us back to Kelce. Because if someone like Jason Kelce is saying Shedeur needs to leave, publicly, then what do you think players are saying privately? On the team plane? In the group chats? You think those receivers aren't texting each other like, man, how is he not starting? You think linemen aren't shaking their heads after practice saying, this kid's the real deal, and he's on scout team? You think other GMs aren't watching this situation like hawks? Let's be clear, they are. Because what Cleveland sees as development, other teams see as opportunity. And when the call inevitably comes, when Shedeur's agent picks up that phone and hears, we want him. We believe in him. We're ready to build around him. You think he's going to hesitate? No. Because Shedeur's loyalty shouldn't cost him his career. He gave Cleveland the benefit of the doubt. Showed up early. Stayed late. Did the right thing, said the right thing. Took accountability when he didn't even need to. And what did it get him? Third-string status, behind a backup and a backup's backup. Let's talk legacy for a second. Because Shedeur's not just building a career. He's building a name, on top of one that already casts a massive shadow. And if there's one thing you can't afford when you're chasing greatness, it's being invisible. Every week he sits, every snap he doesn't take, it's a lost chapter in a story that should already be rolling. And you better believe Dion is watching. Not because he's a helicopter dad, but because he's a coach, a leader, and a father who knows how this league treats players who get boxed in too early. You don't get a lot of second chances in the NFL. So you better be on the field when the lights are bright. And right now, the Browns are keeping Shedeur in the dark. So let's talk solutions. If Cleveland isn't ready to give him the keys, trade him. Let him go to a team that actually wants to develop him on the field, not behind closed doors. Give him to a franchise with a shaky QB room and a vision. Somewhere like the Atlanta Falcons, who are desperate for someone to bring excitement back to the Dome. The New York Giants, because Daniel Jones is hanging on by a thread. The Las Vegas Raiders, who are one injury away from having a full-blown quarterback crisis. Any of those places would roll out the red carpet. Because unlike Cleveland, they know you don't find charisma, leadership, and production all in one package very often. And when you do, you don't bench it. You build around it. But hey, maybe the Browns wake up. Maybe Flacco struggles in week 1. Maybe Shedeur gets elevated to backup by week 3. Maybe we see a storyline redemption arc where the Browns finally stop playing scared. Or maybe they double down on safe, and Shedeur's career truly begins somewhere else. Either way, Jason Kelce's not wrong. And the clock is ticking. So, football fans, what do you think? Should Shedeur demand a trade? Is Cleveland setting him up to fail? And what team should be on the phone right now trying to rescue him? And here's the wildest part in all of this. If the Browns did decide to start Shedeur Sanders, like actually commit to him, build the offense around him, unleash him with the full confidence of the coaching staff, it wouldn't just change the direction of his career. It could change the entire identity of the Cleveland Browns. Because let's face it, this franchise has spent the last 2 decades trapped in a Groundhog Day of mediocre quarterbacks, lukewarm coaching hires, and rosters that can never quite connect the dots. Every season starts with optimism and ends in heartbreak. Rinse, repeat. But Shedeur? He's not more of the same. He's new DNA. He brings a different energy. A blend of swagger, work ethic, and come-under-pressure leadership that can't be taught in a quarterback room. The moment he walks into a huddle, it doesn't feel like a rookie taking snaps. It feels like someone taking ownership. And that's what teams like the Browns have been missing for years. But instead of riding that wave, they're anchoring themselves to the comfort of experience. And don't get me wrong, experience matters. But it only gets you so far when your ceiling is 6 wins and an early offseason. Cleveland isn't a team that needs a seat warmer. It needs a spark, a statement, a reason for fans to believe this time could be different. Shedeur Sanders is that reason. And yet, they're letting that spark dim. They're keeping him on the sidelines like he's some long-term experiment rather than a live wire ready to light up the league. It's like hiding a Ferrari in the garage because you're still making payments on your 2011 Camry. And listen, when you've got people like Jason freaking Kelce, begging for the kid to get out of there, it tells you everything you need to know. Because veterans like him, they've seen it all. They don't hand out respect easily. And they definitely don't go public unless the house is really on fire. So what happens next? Maybe the Browns wake up. Maybe Flacco stumbles, and the fans chant loud enough to force their hand. Maybe someone in that front office decides to stop being scared of Shedeur's potential and start building around it. But if not, if they keep playing it safe, holding him back, treating him like a background character, then, yeah, Kelce's right. Shedeur needs to get out of there before the league passes him by. Because stars shine brightest on the biggest stage. And right now, Cleveland's curtain is closed.